weekly winners. Today is Thursday, September 9th, the first Thursday night football of the year. We made it. We're here. But first, a little housekeeping. We'll pull back the curtain. First, apologize. There will not be an episode on Monday. It's going to be on Sunday. We're moving the schedule. It's all about football season. That's what we're here for. Monday is going to be on Sunday. Thursday is going to move back to Wednesday. So it'll be a Sunday, Wednesday release schedule. So Sunday, we'll make sure we'll record on Saturday. Episodes will be out midnight on Sunday. So you can wake up. Those of you who want to wake up with us, let us get you ready for that full day of football. Or you night owls who can't even wait and you're sitting there at your computers smashing refresh for weekly winners come out Saturday night. You can catch it a little early. So we'll preview the whole game, give our bets and everything. That'll be Sunday. And then Wednesday, when we normally did our winner of the week on Monday, that will now be on Wednesday. And Wednesday will kind of be the recap of the football week, as well as, news stories, and we'll still do our normal stuff. But, if there's basketball, baseball news, we'll cover it all the same. But this is our schedule during football and for the foreseeable future. Maybe we'll switch back after football season, but we might just leave it. So yeah, we'll play it by ear. But yeah, this week's Monday episode will be on Sunday. It'll be Sunday, Wednesday, from there on forward. But that's enough dilly-dallying around. Let's get into this Thursday night game. The ring ceremony, it's Cowboys, Bucks, and we're opening with an ugly one. Minus 415 for the Bucks.
Yeah.
Heavy favorites.
So what's your take on that? Where are you going on that line?
It's hefty. It's a lot. I feel like people liked the choice when it first came out, and it was like, oh yeah, Cowboys, Bucks. Cowboys obviously a huge fan base, but I don't know. I'd like to see a little bit more of a competitive game. I do like the Bucks in it. Obviously, 8 is tough, especially for Super Bowl hangover, first game of the season. They could absolutely win by 7. There's a 1 touchdown game. That's extremely plausible. So 8 is just not enough for me to take the Bucks. And I think they just nailed these lines for the first one. Over unders 52. That feels, if I had to lean one way, I'd probably go under. Probably the Cowboys, getting held to very few points. But I could see it going over almost as easily. So are you taking any of the straight bets, whether it be?
I am.
Okay.
Very strong opinions on this. If I can move the line to Bucks minus 35, I would.
Oh, wow.
This feels very trappy by sports books. I feel like they want people to bet the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. It almost seems too big.
Because it's 8 rather than 7.
Yeah. I feel like they want people to bet Cowboys. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going against the grain. I'm taking the Bucks. Couple reasons here. This isn't going to be the 2020 Bucks, where the first 5-6 games of the year weren't quite on the same page. COVID kind of kept them out of being in the same room a lot and getting to work together. So we won't see that. We're going to see a full stadium in Tampa. Last year, the most fans in that stadium was for the Super Bowl, and it was 22,000. Right. And those fans, you're telling me first drive, Tom Brady marches them down the field. I'm not even saying it's got to be a big play. It could be a 10, 12 play drive. Tom Brady marches down the field and scores. Those fans are in it. Mm-hmm. And it is going to be a tough place for the Cowboys to play.
I guess I didn't think about this is going to be the first time a lot of Bucks fans are seeing Brady live.
Right.
I don't know how much of an impact that makes. But also, the thing that's kind of scaring me off going with the under is, if you caught in the preseason, the Buccaneers kind of testing out a no-huddle system. So watch for that in this game tonight. If they break that out, I think it could be very effective. Obviously, Brady, the ultimate field general. Just if he's got his guys on the same page, that could be, especially with that many weapons.
Yeah. So I'm also hammering the over here.
Okay. You have to just be on such with that kind of receiving threats, like, and if they're going no huddle, like you have to be on the top of your game as a defense, trying to, make sure all your coverage is on the same page. That's so hard to do when a team is going no huddle down the field.
Yeah. I think it'll be Bucks. I think they will score a ton.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only reason I'm hesitant on the under is because of the Bucks defense.
That's the thing. Like the Cowboys might just score 7.
Right.
And it's like the Bucks will score, but this isn't college football.
Right. The Bucks
45.
might win 28-7.
Right.
And that one's surprising.
Extremely plausible, yeah.
And that's the only reason I'm hesitant on taking the over.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still taking it. I feel like there's no way the Bucks score less than 4 or 5 touchdowns in this game.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I mean, got the fans back. You had a full off season finally to prepare. I mean, the band's back together, all 22 starters.
Right.
I just think there's something brewing, and I think we'll see a game 1 blowout.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. But I looked at these lines and I just thought I didn't know which side exactly. I was never gonna bet the Cowboys +8. That's just too risky for me. But the Bucks I don't like -8 that much either. So I decided to get a little creative. So I was kind of looking at, some player props. I said episode 1, like I like mixing together things that this team will win if this guy performs like this or doesn't perform like he's supposed to, and try to get better odds that way. Not quite the situation here, but so I'm looking at some lines and I'm like, a Bucks receiver will go off. The hard thing about it, and you see it in fantasy, which one is it going to be?
Right.
So I see 2 lines. I see Mike Evans over 80 receiving yards and the Bucks to win is +147. And I see Chris Godwin over 80 receiving yards and the Bucks to win +146. Almost identical lines. I'm like, well, I can't pick between those. I'm going to bet them both. If either the Bucks, obviously I get screwed here if the Cowboys pull off the big upset. But if the Bucks win here and either Mike Evans or Chris Godwin goes off, not even really goes off, just gets 80 receiving yards, I'm still up, about a half a unit. And it is not impossible that both happen. Then I'm really feeling good. I'm up about 3 units. So I kind of like this play, Ideally, everything goes your right way. You get the Bucks, you get Evans, and you get Godwin kind of producing at a high level. But I think it's unlikely for both of these to miss.
I'd have to agree. I wish I would have saw that Godwin line because I did take Godwin over 59.5.
Mm-hmm.
But you get that at -115. And I'm so confident the Bucks will win that.
Yeah, that's the thing, is it's like these receivers are getting lines around 60 or 70, but the nature of how the Bucks play, it's not going to come down to like, say, line 60.5. Godwin's unlikely to be at like 55 or 65 yards. He's way more likely to be at like 40 or 100.
Right.
It's like he's not really going to be around that line, in my opinion. So that's kind of why I like this bet. Need 1 to hit, hopefully both, but I'm feeling good with 1. So yeah, that's our little teaser. And then we got to wait through Friday, and we get college football Saturday, but I'll be watching, but still, waiting for Sunday is where it's going to be at.
So do you have any more bets on that Thursday?
That's my Thursday. I'm taking those 2. I really don't like the lines, but what was I going to do? Not bet the first game of the year?
So I've got a hefty ticket for the Thursday night game.
Play it on me.
So I've got yes to the Buccaneers scoring in every quarter, just for regulation time.
Mm.
+125.
Okay.
Not a juicy line, but I'll take it.
Fourth quarter. If the fourth quarter would worry me, if you think they're going to blow them out by that much, if they just kind of step on the brakes a little bit.
Well, it's when the defensive touchdown.
Oh, okay.
So I'm also going, and I was debating about throwing this in as the lock of the century.
Okay.
This is a bet that if I could afford to put 10,000 units on it, I would.
Responsibly bet the mortgage on this one.
Yep. And that is Scotty Miller over 9.5 receiving yards.
Mhm.
He did that in 10 out of 14 games last year. I mean, just a high percentage. And the other thing is, when he's out on the field, Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, or Mike Evans are also always on the field.
Right. He's
like there's hardly ever a scenario where he's out there
Mhm.
and one of those three isn't. So he's never getting guarded by CB1 and sometimes not even by CB2.
Most of the time.
Right. Like
he's going to have a favorable matchup.
And career of like 15 yards per catch, right. Too.
You'd see it in Brady's career. Brady would have all these games where it's like, hey, look, it's the Patriots season. Tom Brady threw a touchdown to 13 different guys.
Right.
He spreads it around.
Right. So that one, I mean, just feels like a lock to me, but I won't throw the word out there, but I would responsibly bet the mortgage. The next one is Zeke under 60.5 rush yards. This kind of goes with my whole them getting down early. And then also, I don't know if you saw their right guard. What's his name? He's like the best right guard in the league. One of the best linemen. He's out with COVID. So between the fact that I think they're going to have to go to throwing the ball pretty early in the game and that, Studley offensive line kind of not as Studley anymore.
Right.
I kind of like the Zeke under there. And then I also have a pass is the first play of the game. This is like the Super Bowl for me.
Right.
I'm so excited.
These are very Super Bowl.
I'm so excited for game one. Very much Super Bowl bets. And then Chris Godwin, first touchdown score, plus 800.
800. Okay. Who was the leader for that? Zeke, probably? Or
no, I want to say Evans was at like
really?
700. It was very.
I guess it's hard to pick one. Like usually it's a running back just because they're more likely.
Right, but I think the books seem to very favor.
It wasn't going to be Ronald Jones.
Right. But yeah, so then that's my ticket.
I might think about hopping on Leonard Fournette first touchdown. We'll see. We'll wait for tonight.
It could have been Zeke too. I just don't think the Cowboys are going first, so I really didn't look at the Cowboys players.
So we're throwing a lot of player props out here, and you might hear a couple you like, a couple you hate, and you like to fade us on. But what if you are in a state that doesn't allow legalized gambling, or you don't have a bookie, or you don't know how to get a bookie? We got a solution for you. It's not sports betting. It's games of skill. We're on the Underdog app. Underdog gives you a crazy amount of player props. And I think there's like 73 of them for Sunday on football. Tons of lines of guys. It can be fantasy points. It can be all-purpose yards. It can be pass yards. It can be rush yards. It can be receptions. It can be touchdowns. All these kind of lines, and you can pick them. It's very easy. The best way to think about it is it's parlays, except it's way simplified. If you pick 2 of these lines, you get 3 times your money if you win, if both hit. If you pick 3, you get 6 times your money. If you pick 4, you get 10 times your money. If you pick all 5, the max, you get 20 times your money if all 5 of the lines you pick hit. They also have rivals rather than the individual player lines, where you can pick a player, sometimes with a spread, sometimes with not, against a different player, usually in the same game or on the same team, to get more of whatever the stat they chose for that rivals is. It's a ton of options. It's completely legal. You win real money. And yeah, it's just so simplified. Even though we do bet, through bookies or sports books, I still use this app because it's so easy. It's so easy to like pull it up and it's just like, oh, what are these lines at? Like, oh, pick this one, get a easy like times 3 or times 6.
Right.
And
to me, it's more convenient than like a sports book, because it's just like, oh, there's 2 I really like. I don't want to, go to a different sports book, check the part, like what odds they'd give me on a parlay. It's
Mhm.
like I just load it up. I know I'm 3xing with these two.
Right. And they also have like season-long fantasy drafts. They have weekly fantasy drafts, more of your traditional daily fantasy, if that's your bag as well. Those, we just use it for a lot of stuff. I have several like year-long fantasy drafts that I did with them, and they call it best ball. So you don't have to worry about setting your lineup. You just get your best lineup each week, which is good because I'm in a lot of fantasy leagues, and I really like drafting them. But this one, I can kind of set it and forget it. I'll check in on it every week, but I don't have to be constantly patrolling it like I will be with 3 or 4 other fantasy leagues. So those are fun as well. Quick note, I will say I did mention that fantasy lines can be used. Like I believe you'll get a quarterback. They'll be like their line is over under 19 fantasy points. That's your traditional half-point PPR. 4 points for a passing touchdown, 6 for receiving, 6 for touchdown, and 1 point for every 20 passing yards. 25 passing yards. Kind of your standard leagues, but don't get caught up and being like, oh, it's 6 points for a passing touchdown. That was in the back of my mind when I first started looking, and I liked every quarterback over, and then I went and checked it as 4 points for every passing touchdown. So keep that in mind when you're looking at your quarterback lines. So it's we have some underdog picks here for those of you who want to join us on those. So what I like doing is separating them per like time slot. So I have a Thursday night parlay, I have a noon pick 'em, and I have a 3:25 game pick 'em. That way you kind of, you can choose when you're not waiting for a guy on Monday night after, your first 3 guys already hit their line. I like kind of keeping them in the same time slot. So my Thursday night, I got 3 picks, so that if all 3 hit, I'll 6x my money. I disagree with you slightly on the first one. I have Ezekiel Elliott, 85.5 rushing and receiving yards. And I'm going over on that one. I'm not very high on Zeke this year, but I think Dak is still going to, be finding his legs a little bit. I think they're really going to try to lean on Zeke. And, he's going to catch a couple balls. I think it doesn't take much to, make up the receiving portion that he'll need to get over 85.5. I don't think if he can catch 25 yards, well, then he only has to rush for 60. So that's the first leg. And then I agree with you on my next one. Going Scotty Miller over 10.5 receiving yards. I think it's a lock. He averages over 10.5 yards per reception. He needs 1 target and he needs to catch it when he's, wide receiver 4 out there.
Right.
I think the line is confusing to me. I think it would be a little higher.
I was almost hoping I could move it on my sports book.
Yeah.
Because all the other receivers, you could move it. Because I'm like, what would they give me for like Scotty Miller over like 19.5? It's a bit riskier, but if you can get like plus 300 or something. Be like
2 catches, right? It makes sense why they wouldn't. And then my third leg of that Thursday night one, I'm going Dak over 12.5 rush yards. I have questioned on previous episodes, even if he is fully healthy, will he mentally be able to tell himself to go on the run again? I think there'll be people in his ear, or it'll be part of his, game plan. Be like, get out there early and just be the old Dak. I think he's gonna look to run early to get back into that mental spot. That's 12.5 yards. That's probably 2 carries that he has to, broken play he has to take off. And especially with the front 5 of that Buccaneers D, and maybe a offensive line with more holes than we're used to, I think we're more likely to see a busted player too, where he's kind of got to take off. So 12.5 seems low, but I like it there. But he might be liable to go with 0 there and just stay in the pocket. But
right,
I like 12.5. So those are my 3. I'm looking 6 times my money on tonight.
Yeah, so I do have one for tonight too.
Okay.
It's only a 3x, so I only picked two.
Yeah.
The Lions, like, there's just so many out there for the Buccaneers, but like you said, it's all like that 60 to 70, and it's pretty much you gotta pick
Gotta pick one of those receivers.
who's gonna be there. And so I went Godwin over. They have it at 60.5 on here. They do have it 1 yard higher, but
Yeah.
if I lose because of a yard, well, is what it is. And then I also went Scotty Miller 10.5. I think I'm fairly confident that's a 3x right there, but yeah, I just like the spot.
Yeah, for sure. And then we will have our more sports book-esque bets on the Sunday show, but kind of highlighting Underdog here. We'll have our bets for the week right now. So noon, I have another 6 times, so 3 bets. I like Matt Ryan over 18.95 fantasy points. So basically need 19 fantasy points out of them. They're playing the Eagles. 300 yards should be very in the cards for Matt Ryan. That's, if he can pull that off, that's already 12 fantasy points. He just needs, a touchdown and a few more yards, or a few less yards and 2 touchdowns.
Right.
I just think they're going to be throwing it all over the place all year, the Falcons. I think Matt Ryan can do 19 fantasy points against the Eagles pretty easy. Another quarterback on a subpar team, I like Tyrod Taylor over 244.5 total yards. So, rushing and passing and receiving if they're getting a little tricky in Houston. Yeah, it's just, that's for total yards. Like, I don't know how much him running or, receiving is going to be in the game plan, but I think Tyrod is a just fine quarterback. I don't really have any other offensive threats. I don't think they're going to be running the ball 30 times a game. He's going to have the opportunity. They're playing a bad Jags defense. Like, I just think I kind of just like, there's nothing to like about Houston, but I kind of like him against the Jaguars just because so many people are on the Jaguars. And then my final leg of that, I'm going Devonta Smith over 4 receptions. So I had 2 plays in that Falcons-Eagles game. He's just, it's what he does. It's a little bit of a risk because, it's a rookie receiver, with a young quarterback who's going to, is he going to be one of his favorite targets? But he just gets open. He's small. He's fast. He's going to be in the slot. 4 receptions. It's weird that's not 3.5 or 4.5. But I'm comfortable going over on that. So, yeah, that's my noon slot.
So I just have an all-day Sunday slot. There was a couple I was throwing around. I don't like doing the 20x. The amount of times I've been burned where you hit 4 and then
it's 10x for one more guy.
So
could you not?
Now kind of what I do, like five guys, I'll do a bunch of like 3x's, like
spread it
like
around,
round robin. Yeah. But I'm pretty much, I was dabbling with Najee under 87.5 rushing receiving. That's Buffalo's defense is solid.
Yeah.
Was dabbling with it. I'm like, no, don't want to go with that. Debated about Dalvin Cook over 134.5 rushing receiving. It's just so high. I still think he'll do it, but I'm not confident enough to put my money where my mouth is. So then the 3 I settled on for a 6x is going to be James Robinson over 89.5 rushing receiving. With Trevor Lawrence, I don't know if the Jags will just say, here's the rock, go throw it 40 times.
Right.
And I mean, James Robinson was what, 1,100 yard rusher last year. I mean, just a solid guy, not much in the receiving game. That's going to have to all come on the ground. Next one, I went with another running back who's playing with a rookie QB. And that's Damian Harris, 69.5. Playing a pretty good Miami defense, but I do think, I know I said Mac Jones will have a very long leash to play with, but I don't think, again, they're going to say, hey, go throw the ball 40 times in your debut. I think Damian Harris will probably get about 20 touches if I had to guess. So I kind of like the over 69.5 there. Then finally, Alvin Kamara. I took the over on 110.5 rushing receiving against the Packers. I mean, no Michael Thomas. I think you'll see a lot of checkdowns from Jameis to Kamara.
So many touches he's going to get for these first few games of the season. He's the offense.
Right. And then, so that's my 6X of James Robinson, Damian Harris, and Alvin Kamara. Feel pretty comfortable with it. I might throw together like a 3X with Dalvin and Najee just to see, but.
Right. So my 325 slot, I just 2 picks, small little 3X to, boost my bank account in the middle of the day. Hopefully I won't need it, but might. I'm going Jameis over 243.5 pass yards. Kind of just talked about it with the Saints playing the Packers in Texas, Jacksonville, moved to Jacksonville. Weird situation. But he's going to have a lot of, and it's opportunities. Like Kamara is the feature of that offense, but he's also not a 20-25 carries a night type of back. A lot of those are checkdowns, and they're just going to throw it a ton with Jameis. So 250 pass yards is super doable. It's a fine enough Packers defense, but I think it's primed to, get past for 250 yards. And then I love this pick a lot. Myles Gaskin over 67.5 rushing and receiving yards. What am I missing here? That's such a low number for Gaskin.
Right.
He's going to get a decent amount of carries and probably catch a couple balls in Miami. Like 67 yards just seems quite low for him. Maybe they know something at Underdog that I don't. But, those are my 2. So hopefully, little 3X for my 325 slot.
I never really thought about when you touched on that Saints Packers moving to Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to be a hot one.
Oh, yeah.
You have to imagine that gives the Packers quite an upper hand, just depth-wise.
You think so?
I mean, that Saints team, they just caught Latavius Murray. They got that Jones kid.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I just think the Packers probably run deeper than the Saints.
I think AJ Dillon gets 10 or 15 carries just in the.
I don't know about 15, but just I
would. If they get up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd assume AJ Dillon gets a lot of time. I'm guessing the Packers run a consistent like 5 guys at wideout. I think you'll see a lot of wideouts sharing snaps. Because I think it's supposed to be like triple digits. It's supposed to be just ridiculously hot for that
Rodgers,
game.
In the pool at Jacksonville at halftime.
Right.
Taking a dip. But so that's kind of our Underdog. Well, maybe we'll sprinkle in some picks that we like here and there throughout the season. If you guys like it, you can go check out Underdog. They have an app, and I like the app a lot. I use the web sometimes, but mostly I use it on the app. Enjoy that game tonight. I know we will. And we will see you guys for our show on Sunday, not on Monday, on Sunday.